Hello again. This is Math 1120 coming to you from the College DuPage, and the title of this lecture is Introduction to Sound and the Range Equation. As always, please be an active learner as you watch this video. Sound is not transmitted in a vacuum. Sound needs a medium to transmit. And in science fiction, they talk about this as in the vacuum of space, no one can hear you scream. There are demonstrations that are on the internet. Here's one where they're using an alarm clock inside a bell jar, and they suck the air out of there, so this is a vacuum, and then you can't hear it anymore. I'd encourage you to watch that. But the point is, sound needs a medium to go through. No medium, no sound. And so what happens is there's a vibration or a sound, and it crushes the molecules together, and then they swing back. This is called a compression, and that's called a rarefaction when they come back. But these molecules push on other molecules, who push on other molecules and other molecules. Now the molecules don't move, but the energy does, and eventually the energy reaches your ear. Now this is called a longitudinal wave because the propagation of the energy of the wave is in the same direction as the wave goes. So it's called a longitudinal wave, and sound is a longitudinal wave. Now often though, you can see that there's greater pressure here, greater pressure here, greater pressure here, and less pressure here, less pressure here, less pressure here. So many devices measure pressure rather than the actual sound waves. So let's say, oh, there's high pressure here, there's high pressure here, high pressure here, and low pressure in between. And so they will look like these kind of curves. And these are called transverse waves because the wave direction is going this way, but the motion of the wave is perpendicular to this. This is like if you take a jump rope and move it up and down, you'll get waves that look like this. So transverse waves are often used to represent sound in microphones, oscilloscopes, and such, and they measure things such as pressure. And you should remember that velocity of sound is a vector. It makes a difference if you're shouting this way, or shouting up at an angle. So the velocity of sound is a vector. There are some important terms that are involved here. They're frequency and period. Frequency is the number of occurrence of a repeating event per unit time. It would be like vibrations per second, or sometimes it says cycles per second. It is also referred to sometimes as a temporal frequency, which emphasizes the contrast between this and things that sometimes are talked about in terms of spatial frequency and angular frequency. Don't worry about these in our course, although you might study them in additional ultrasound courses. Frequency is usually measured in hertz, Hz, named after Heinrich Hertz, which is equal to one occurrence of a repeating event per second. This is normally called one cycle per second. And hertz is a dimensionless quantity, so if you're doing dimensions, sometimes it's not there, and it'll just look like 1/seconds or reciprocal seconds. In contrast, the period is the duration of time of one cycle in a repeating event. So this is time, and this is cycles per second. So this is time for one cycle, this is cycles per second. They're going to be reciprocals of each other. Again, the period is the duration of time of one cycle in a repeating event, so the period is the reciprocal of the frequency. For example, if a newborn baby's heart beats at a frequency of 120 times a minute, that would be 2 hertz, because a hertz is one occurrence per second. So this would be 2 hertz. Its period, T, is the time interval between beats, is a half a second, because 60 seconds divided by 120 beats. Frequency is an important parameter used in science and engineering to specify the rate of oscillatory and vibratory phenomenon, such as mechanical vibrations, audio signals, including sound, radio waves, which also end up being sound, and light. And so here you see that frequency is the reciprocal of the time period. The time period is the time for one complete cycle to go from this position all the way to the same position. Now, sound is a vector, but the absolute value of the magnitude of the speed of sound, the speed of the vector, is called speed. And the speed of sound depends on the medium you're going in. It also depends on many other factors, but we're holding all those factors constant right now, probably having this at 4 degrees centigrade. So depending on the material you're going through, and it does depend on the density of the material, which has to do directly with the material you're going through, the speed of sound varies. It can be, notice it's slower in air than it is in steel, and water is 1496 and muscle is 1580, and it turns out in soft tissue the speed of sound is taken to be 1540 meters per second. That means that what happens is you're very close to being water. The tissue is just a little more dense than water, and you get this speed of sound in different medium. Now that matters because you use the speed of sound in something that's called a range equation. So the rest of this discussion today is about the range equation. So to create an anatomic image, a sound pulse must travel to a reflector, that's what you're trying to get an image of, located in the body, and return to the transducer. So it goes down and it comes back. The travel time of this journey, the total travel time, allows us to accurately position the reflector. So we talk about a term called the time of flight, or go-return time. So ultrasound systems determine reflector depth by measuring a pulse's time of flight with a very accurate stopwatch. The elapsed time from pulse creation to pulse reception, so you go down and back, is called the go-return time, or time of flight. When a reflector is located superficially, that means not deep, the time between pulse creation and reception is brief, whereas trips to and from deeper reflectors require more time. This is the basis for measuring distances in diagnostic imaging. And here you can see this is the reflector and this is the reflector. If it's not very deep, it goes, you generate and it comes back very quickly. Otherwise, it's got longer to travel, and so it will take longer to do. The time of flight is directly related to how deep a sound pulse travels. Greater distances prolong the time of flight, lesser distances shorten the time of flight. And I think I talked about that picture enough. Ultrasound systems computers are programmed with an average speed of sound in soft tissue 1.54 millimeters per microsecond. If you do some dimensional analysis, this is the same number that I told you before, except the units are different. Since the average speed of sound in soft tissue is known, the time of flight and distance that the pulse travels are directly related. We studied that already, and we know that distance is rate times time. So when one reflector is twice as deep as the other reflector, the time of flight is twice as long for the deeper reflector. In fact, the depth of a reflector can be accurately calculated from the go-return time using the following equation. The depth in millimeters is 1.54 millimeters per microsecond times the go-return time in microseconds divided by 2. It takes the same amount of time to go in as it does to come out, and here microseconds will cancel and you'll get millimeters as your unit. Now we have a thing called the 13 microsecond rule. The 13 microsecond rule always applies when sound travels through soft tissue. For every 13 microseconds of go-return time, the object creating the reflection is 1 centimeter deeper in the body. For example, a pulse's time of flight is 26 microseconds when it is 2 centimeters deep. If the time of flight is 39 microseconds when it is 3 deep, and here's some other examples in the table that line up with this 13 microsecond rule. Since a pulse travels to the reflector and back to the transducer, the total distance that a pulse travels is twice the reflector depth. You want to read problems carefully to understand what it is asking about. Now we're going to talk about pulse repetition period, and that's the period that we defined earlier in the maximum imaging depth. When a sonographer adjusts a system's maximum imaging depth, the pulse repetition period is altered. Recall that the pulse repetition period, PRP, is the time from the start of one pulse to the start of the next pulse. Therefore, the pulse repetition period is the go-return time of a sound pulse between the transducer and the bottom, I would say the surface of the image. The 13 microsecond rule applies. So when the depth of view is shallow, PRP is short. When the depth of view is deep, PRP is long. And mathematically in soft tissue, the PRP in microseconds, again this is going to be time because it's a period, is the imaging depth in centimeters times 13 microseconds per centimeter. Again, units matter. So for example, when the depth is set to 10 centimeters, the PRP is 130 microseconds, the product of those two numbers. When the depth of view is set to 5 centimeters, the PRP is 65 microseconds, and this is this. And of course, the pulse repetition period is directly related to the maximum imaging depth. And here we say when the imaging depth is deep, pulse repetition period is long. That's the upper pattern, red line. When the imaging depth is shallow, the pulse repetition period is short, and that's the lower pattern. That's a blue line. At least in the textbook it was blue. We can also talk about the pulse repetition frequency and the maximum imaging depth. So the speed, and again this is the word frequency is being used here. So the speed of sound in soft tissue is 1540 meters per second, or this many centimeters per second. In 1 second, sound can travel into the tissue and return from a depth of 77,000 centimeters. Now, at first that might seem ridiculous because that's nearly a half mile. However, this means that sound can travel to and from a depth of 77 centimeters 1,000 times in 1 second, or to and from a depth of 7.7 centimeters 10,000 times in a second. In essence, round trips can be 77,000 long or divided into many thousands of round trips. When the depth of view is shallow, the PRF, pulse repetition frequency, is high. When the depth of view is deep, PRF is low. Mathematically, then, here's what we have. The pulse repetition frequency, which will come in hertz, is going to be 77,000 centimeters per second divided by the imaging depth in centimeters. Notice that the centimeters cancel and you get reciprocal seconds, which actually is what a hertz is. For example, when the depth of view is set to 7.7, the PRF is 10,000 hertz. And when the depth of view is set to 15.4 centimeters, the PRF is 5,000 hertz. And here we note the obvious, that pulse repetition frequency, PRF, is inversely related to the maximum imaging depth. Here are some questions I'm going to ask you to read. A sound wave is created by a transducer and reflects off an object, returns to the transducer. The depth is 10 centimeters. What is the go return time? Here we say a sound wave is created by a transducer, reflects off an object, and returns to the transducer. The go return time is 26 seconds. How deep is the reflector? A sound wave is created by a transducer, reflects off an object, and returns to the transducer. The go return time is 26 seconds. What's the total distance? This is a different question. What's the total difference the pulse traveled? And last but not least, the maximum imaging depth of view during an ultrasound exam is 10 centimeters. The sonographer adjusts this imaging depth to 20 centimeters. What happens to the pulse repetition period? And you have your choices. These are very much the kind of questions you could ask on your certification exam, so I suggest you pay special attention to these. You know what to do. Let's see how you did. So you should have gotten D, B, D, and C. Make sure you understand why these are the answers. Here's some more questions for you. The maximum image depth during an ultrasound exam is 10 centimeters. The sonographer adjusts the imaging to 20 centimeters. What happens to the pulse repetition frequency? I think that's the same question we had before. The imaging depth during an ultrasound exam is 10 centimeters, and the sonographer adjusts the depth to 5 centimeters. What happens to the pulse repetition period? A sound wave is created by a transducer, reflects off an object, and returns to the transducer. The imaging depth is 10 centimeters. What's the maximum pulse repetition frequency? A sound wave is created by a transducer, reflects off an object, and returns to the transducer. The maximum imaging depth is 7.7 centimeters. What is the PRF? So you have a bunch of answers there. And last but not least in this sequence, a sound wave is created by a transducer, reflects off an object, and returns to the transducer. The go return time is 130 microseconds. What is the maximum PRF? And do you know what to do? Let's see how you did. So you should have gotten B, 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 C, and A. Make sure you understand these answers, and congratulations if you got them right, and make sure you understand them if you get them wrong. In closing, now more than ever, time is precious. Each day must count. Do the math. It will make you strong. And now more than ever, take care of yourself and of each other. May God bless you all.